Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how can you find out all beans that are registered in your Spring application context. You may wonder why would you care, right? Well, there can be many reasons, one of which that I can think of right now is you may want to reduce the startup time of your application. And we all know that thanks to Spring Boot auto configuration feature that it will auto configure a lot of beans that it thinks that you need. However, you may not really need them. So by looking at what beans are registered in the Spring application context when your application first starts up, you can effectively exclude the ones that you don't really need so that your application starts up a lot faster. Now, before we start, for those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Jasper. I make videos on full stack technologies such as Spring Boot and Angular. So if you find yourself that you are interested in full stack technologies, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button for me and turn the bell next to it so that you don't miss out any one of my new weekly posts. In other words, you don't miss out the opportunity to improve yourself every week. Without further ado, let's jump to today's topic. Always the first thing I want to show you guys is what dependencies I have. So let's head to POM XML. Then as can be seen here, I want to have three dependencies, which is Spring Boot Starter Wrap, Spring Boot Starter Actuator, Spring Boot Starter Test. So one of the ways I want to show you guys today to list out all the beans that are registered in your Spring application context is through Spring Boot Actuator. So let's go to the application properties and let's use the actuator to show us all the beans that are registered in the application context. In order to do that, we need to specify a few properties. So the first property I want to specify is management.endpoint.beans.enable. Then we just simply enable the beans endpoint. Then we need to expose the beans endpoint in the actuator endpoint. So web.exposure.include will specify beans. Then we need to create some helper classes for today's demo. So the first one I want to create is a simple controller called user controller. And here I will just annotate the class with annotation rest controller. Then just have one simple get method mapping. We'll do super-users, then public string get all super users. And then we'll create a simple service class that's going to be used by the controller class to get a list of super users. So we call it the user service, and we'll annotate this service class with a service stereotype annotation. Then here we'll just have one simple method which returns us a list of super users. So we do list, import the list class. Then we'll call the method by get super users, and here we'll create a list. Then we will create a array list. Then let's add a few users to this list. So the first one is going to be Mike. The second one is going to be myself, Jasper. Then the third one is going to be Lindsay. Then let's return this list. Now head back to user controller. We will inject the user service as a dependency. So now we're going to use the famous auto-wired annotation. So private user service. Then here we will do return all super users are. Then we'll write user service dot get super users, and that's it. Now let's run this application. See whether we have these two classes in our Spring application context. So let's go to the actuator endpoint, and here it can be seen we have the beans endpoint. Now let's click on it. It gives us a list of beans that are registered in the Spring application context. And if we search for user controller, it is right here, right? And it also says user service is a dependency that the user controller depends on. Now let's search for user service, and it's also here. And besides these two beans, we can see there are already a lot of other beans that are registered in the Spring application context. So this is the first way, which is quite simple, as you can see, to list out all the beans that are registered in your Spring Boot application context. Then the second way I want to show you guys how to do the same thing is also very simple. We will take advantage of the created object by invoking this method call. So as can be seen here, the method returns you an object of type ConfigurableApplicationContext. So now let's get a hold of that reference. So final configurable application context, application context string. Now let's create a logger, private static final logger factory dot get logger list spring beans demo dot class. Then we'll do application context dot get bean definition names. This is an array of string, so we will use arrays dot stream to create a stream out of this string array, and then we'll use the for each method to print every one of them. So log info. This is a method reference call. Now let's run this application. I expect that we can see all the beans in the log that are showed here. As can be seen here, it indeed prints out all the beans that are registered in the Spring application context. And if we look closer, we'll find out, the 2 beans that we created are also registered here. So this is the second way how you can find out all the beans that register in your Spring application context. Either way, they're pretty simple. You can choose whichever way you want. I personally like to use the actuator way because I don't have to write a code for it, and also because I have actuator configured for all my projects. So they are the 2 ways that I want to show you guys today to help you to find out all the beans that are registered in your Spring application context. If you have any questions regarding to this video, please feel free to drop me a comment in the comment section below. And if you don't have any questions, congratulations to you that you have mastered today's topic. Then why don't you just share with us how did you use the bean information that you find out by following today's tutorial in the comment section. If you enjoyed today's video, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button and turn the bell next to it so you don't miss out any one of my new weekly posts. And that's it for this week. I will see you guys next week. Bye for now.